Hello, my name is M.K.Davis. I've been privileged to have worked with many pieces of film that I consider to be iconic. And one of those pieces of footage is the Orville Nix assassination footage of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, which was taken in Dallas in 1963. The more famous piece of footage of that event is probably the Abraham Zapruder film, which, I've also worked with. But in this particular case, I'm going to feature the Orville Nix film of the event, taken from the opposite side of the street. This footage was provided me by the Nix family, and when I accepted the footage as a project to work on, I told them that I would give it due diligence. And so this is sort of the results of that. And even as you upload it to a medium like YouTube, it does lose some of the quality, but YouTube has gotten to where 1080 the compression levels are not that great, and it is capable of reproducing it in higher quality, good quality. So here it is, the Orville Nix film, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit. It's not the entire clip. This is a stabilized version of it, of the actual event itself, and you can see it from another perspective if you're used to watching the Zapruder film. So here we go. Let's watch. Notice the motorcycles come up right behind the limo, and then all of a sudden they withdraw, and they're not withdrawing. The limo is slowing way down, almost to a stop, and they come up right behind it, and then the limo takes off, and then gains a lot of speed, and that leaves the motorcycles far behind. And then we'll kind of zoom in on the drivers of the limo, and you'll see some surprising things that happen up there in the front. So let's watch this again. Now let's kind of zoom in on those drivers. There's the driver himself, and then his boss is sitting in the passenger seat. And watch the dramatic happenings up there. It's really surprising what happened to these guys, and they're only discernible from the Orville Nix film, from the angle of Mr. Nix. So this gives us very good perspective. Let's look. I call this clip headbang. Watch the guy that's sitting beside the limo driver in the front seat. His head hits the dash. The brakes are on so heavily that the motorcycles are catching up. And you'll see the motorcycle wheels come into the field of view there. And then, in spite of the fact that the car's under extreme deceleration and all those forces are going forward, the president's head snaps backwards against that force. So it must have been a really tremendous force, the blow to his head, to carry him backwards against all that deceleration from the braking. Now, what is it that will make a person react that way? At first he acted like he didn't really understand what was going on, and then when he finally did, he got out of Dodge. But really, the only thing that'll make a person panic like that, a person that's trained not to panic, is the fact that he's under a line of continuous fire. And so, when you look at the behavior of the people surrounding the event, and from the perspective of both Mr. Zapruder and then Mr. Nix, you get a little better idea of what's really going on there, that they're under continuous fire. And I think I can prove that with a film. Let me just take a look here. In this next clip or segment, I concentrate on a few individuals that are right there watching these events unfold directly in front of them, right there on the street side. And sometimes people react, and they don't even remember how they reacted. When they see something, when they see imminent danger, and you watch these people, they they do a little dance. They backpedal as if they were like stepping on a snake or something. They see something occur down low, and they go to jumping, trying to avoid it being mixed up with it. So take a look. I started taking a close look at the ground in front of them to see why they're reacting. They seem to be looking down at the ground or at the street in front of them. And I did pick up something, and let's take a look at it. Now, take a look at the arrow on the right. This is to get you looking in that direction. And what you're going to see here is something very subtle, but it appears as an almost amorphous little puff. And when it forms, it's picked up by the currents of the air behind the limo and actually follows along with the limo, and it dissipates. And I think this is what they're looking at when they're doing this backpedaling motion, trying to get away from it. So, whenever a bullet strikes the asphalt, it's probably not going to make much in the way of a puff of smoke. But if it strikes concrete, like on a curb or a sidewalk, it'll make a little puff of pulverized concrete, and then will be eventually pulled along by the air and dissipated. So I think that's what you're seeing here, and we'll take a look and see. Okay, this is unenhanced, but it does stop, and an arrow points at the little puff, the little white puff. And it just gives you an idea of what we're looking at here. And then we're going to switch to some more enhanced photos that seem to show it better, higher contrast, and we'll see if it's not what those people are trying to avoid. Okay, here it is under higher contrast, and I got that area circled that you need to pay attention to, and you watch this little white puff of smoke right here in front of these people. And sometimes, like I said, people see that and they react. And then later on, when questioned, they don't really remember what they did. They just remember reacting. Thank you for your time.